Okay, next, our fourth presenter this evening is Dr. Samantha Moore-Berg, an assistant professor of psychology. She studies the causes and consequences of intergroup conflict and develops interventions to promote more peace, something we all need more of today. Give it up for our junior faculty. Thank you.
Political polarization has reached alarming levels, nearly doubling in the past decade and seeping into almost every aspect of everyday life. People increasingly see those with opposing views not just as political rivals, but as enemies, creating a hostile environment that makes it difficult for meaningful conversations. This divide has even led to a breakdown in civil discourse, with nearly half of partisans unwilling to engage with the other side. In many cases, it even leads to affecting personal relationships as families and communities struggle to bridge the widening gap of ideological differences. This division raises important questions. How do we get here, and what can be done to bridge the divide? Understanding the root causes of political polarization is key if we want to rebuild trust and foster more meaningful connections. With this in mind, I plan to discuss two key questions that can help us navigate this challenging time. First, what's a major driver of political polarization? I will focus on our misperceptions about the other side and how these misperceptions affect our relationships. Second, what can we do to overcome the divide and foster more understanding? I will present research-backed strategies on how we can correct our misperceptions and find common ground. By the end, I hope to not only paint a clear picture about what's driving our division, but offer practical solutions for what we can do to overcome this division. To start, I plan to share my own personal story about what motivates me to study this issue, experiences that I'm sure many of you can relate to. Growing up in a family divided by political lines, I oftentimes found myself caught between two sides that at their core cared about many of the same things: justice, equality, and the well-being of others. The difference was not in the values we held, but in the lenses through which we viewed the world. I have seen my own family's relationships fray as these perceived differences have led to hurt, frustration, and a growing divide that sometimes felt insurmountable. Yet, I'm not alone. My family's story is a common one that many families know all too well, where the politics that divide us often stem from deeply held, but sometimes misunderstood, common hopes for the world. As I progressed in my career, I began to realize that the psychology of conflict can help us shed light on why these divisions felt so entrenched and what we can do about it. My research revealed that a major driver of political polarization is our misperceptions about the other side. Specifically, what we think the other side thinks about us and reality. This concept, called meta-perceptions, suggests that we think the other side has more negative views about us and holds more extreme positions than they do in reality. For instance, both Democrats and Republicans think that the other side dislikes them, disregards their values, and holds more extreme positions than they actually do. To put this into perspective, both Democrats and Republicans think that the other side dehumanizes them 300% more than is actually the case. When people have these misperceptions, they're more likely to support political violence and policies that limit the rights and the freedoms of the other side. As another example, both Democrats and Republicans similarly value democratic norms like free and fair elections, with each group rating these values at a 90 out of 100 on importance. However, they think the other side values these same norms less than half as much as they do. When people believe this, they're more likely to support policies that undermine democracy and hurt one another. Now, you might be wondering, where do these misperceptions come from? One key driver is how we view the world, and we tend to categorize people into groups based on various defining features such as their political affiliation, their social status, or other defining features. When we see the world in this us versus them mentality, we tend to think that the groups we are not a part of are the competition or opposition, rather than people who have shared values or common goals. This might mean that we think that the other side has malicious intentions, where at the same time, we might think they perceive us negatively. This can lead to a reinforcing and reoccurring cycle where we begin to think that there's no common ground between us and that the divide is irreconcilable. But when we challenge our misperceptions and we truly get to know and learn about the opinions of the other side, the results can be transformative. My research team partnered with a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization, Beyond Conflict, to develop a powerful video that showcased individuals from across the country and across the aisle sharing their perceptions about the other side, followed by the assumptions of what they think the other side would say about them and various political issues. Viewers in this video reacted with surprise and disbelief when they learned that the other side actually had a lot more common ground with them than they initially presumed. People who watched this video underwent a similar shift in perspective when they learned that there's actually a lot more similarity and a lot more liking that happens across the aisle. As a result, people became less likely to support political violence, less likely to hold anti-democratic attitudes, and less hostile towards the other side. Most importantly, they began to realize that we can overcome our differences and that the differences were not as big as they initially thought. I have now presented how misperceptions can fuel political polarization and what we can do about it. The final piece of the puzzle is understanding how we, as a community, can bridge the divide. I have 3 recommendations: challenge your beliefs, listen to understand, and lead by example. First, we can challenge our pre-existing beliefs by engaging with those who have different perspectives than us. While this might be uncomfortable at first, having these tough conversations is key if we want to break down our assumptions and rebuild trust. One way that we can do this is by sharing our own stories and why we value what we do, and also listening to the shared and the lived experiences of those we're talking with. As my research shows that sharing our narratives can be a powerful tool for finding common ground. Second, we can listen to understand rather than fighting somebody. Entering conversations with this mindset, we're really curious about what the other side thinks and why they think this way, can be really impactful for having an open mind and breaking down our misperceptions. One of my research partners does this perfectly, where the organization, Braver Angels, developed a red-blue paradigm that brings together conservatives and liberals through a structured dialogue program. And in this program, participants learn how to have respectful conversations across division, and they leave having renewed hope that we can have differences and still be okay about it. Finally, we can lead by example and inspire others to do the same. My research shows that when we observe political leaders engaging in these tough conversations across political divides, that people take these techniques and apply them to their everyday lives. One powerful illustration of this is Utah's own Governor Spencer Cox's Disagree Better campaign, which encourages empathetic conversation across division. It teaches us that we don't have to be so divisive, that we can disagree, but we can do so in a way that's respectful and where we listen to the other side. At the gut level, it might still feel like these differences are too vast to bridge. But I've come to understand that misperceptions largely cloud our judgments and affect how we see the world and other people. It's only when we truly engage with the other side that we begin to see that despite our apparent division, we care about many of the same things, including each other. This recognition is the first step towards rebuilding our relationships and ultimately our nation.